what I'm asking you to do is to please use science in your everyday thinking so we can transform and use science as an empowering tool to transform our environment through the use of science. Thank you.
Justice on April 18th. Vote for a fossil-free Chico State. And for non-students and students alike, you do have other opportunities. Vote for our Board of Supervisors on June 5th. Vote in our local and midterm elections in November 6th to ensure our city councilors, state and U.S. representatives take climate science seriously. And last for all, march for science today, engage in democracy tomorrow.
The Professor Stephen Hawking left with us. I am very aware of the preciousness of time. Seize the moment and act now. I have spent my life traveling across the universe inside my mind. Through theoretical physics, I have sought to answer some of the great questions, but there are some other challenges, other big questions which must be answered. And this will also need a new generation who are interested, engaged, and with understanding of science, how we will feed an ever-growing population, provide clean water, generate new renewable energy, prevent and cure disease, and slow down global climate change. I hope the science and technology will provide the answer to these questions. But it will take people, human beings with knowledge and understanding, to implement these solutions. One of the great revelations of the space age has been the perspective it has given humanity on ourselves. When we see the Earth from space, we see ourselves as a whole. We see the unity, but not the divisions. That is such a simple image with a compelling message: one planet, one human race. We are here together, and we need to live together with tolerance and respect. We must become global citizens. I have been enormously privileged through my work to be able to contribute to our understanding of the universe. But it would be an empty universe indeed if it were not for the people I love and who love me. We are all time travelers, journeying together into the future. But let us work together to make that future place we want to visit. Be brave, be determined, overcome the odds. That can be done. Stephen Hawking's great contribution to science was providing the first link between quantum physics and Einstein's general relativity. Quantum physics tends to deal with the very small, and the general relativity deals with very large, so making these two subjects seemingly incompatible. In particular, he discovered that black hole ain't so black, as he put it. They give up the particle now known as Hawking radiations. This became a crucial first step in the search for a unified theory of everything. Something that Einstein sought himself but failed to make much progress on. It gave physicists much hope that one of the great mysteries of the universe might actually be solved. Hawking spent most of his life suffering from Lou Gehrig's disease, yet served as an ambassador of science. Like Carl Sagan, he was gifted not only as a brilliant mathematician and physicist, but as a great communicator of science. His ability to describe difficult scientific concepts to the public became an inspiration to many and paved the way for others in popularizing science. Hawking had a great sense of humor as well, saying life would be tragic if it weren't funny. And when people asked about his IQ, he said, "I have no idea. People who boast about their IQ are losers." He became a pop culture icon and appeared in numerous television shows such as Simpson, The Big Bang Theory, and the Star Trek. He has spoken about dangers to humanity like nuclear war and climate change. I'll leave you with another great piece of advice from Professor Stephen Hawking. 1. Remember to look up at the stars, not down in your feed or maybe your smartphone. 2. Never give up work. Work gives you meaning and purpose. and the life is empty without it. 3, if you are lucky enough to find love, remember it is there and don't throw it away. Thank you.
I want to talk to you a little bit about climate change today. Science tells us that this month marks the 411th consecutive month in which global temperatures have been above their historic averages. In other words, if you're under 33 years of age, you've never experienced normal temperatures. Thomas Jefferson was clearly our smartest president and among the smartest Americans. I'm reminded of the toast that President John Kennedy gave when he invited that year's Nobel Prize winners to a private dinner at the White House. He raised a toast to the greatest collection of intellect ever to sit at that table. So that save those nights that Jefferson dined alone. Thomas Jefferson was the author of our Declaration of Independence, and in it he wrote, "The history of the present King of Great Britain is the history of repeated injuries and usurpations, all having in direct object the establishment of an absolute tyranny over these states from a distant land." Jefferson thought of tyranny not only in spatial terms, but also in temporal terms. In a letter to James Madison, he wrote, "The earth belongs to the living. No man by natural right may impose upon the earth a debt greater than can be repaid in his lifetime, for if he could, the earth would belong to the dead, not the living." Make no doubt about it, climate change is generational tyranny. And for those in the audience under 33, you need to understand that and act accordingly. But what to do? In some ways, the science of climate change is quite simple. We find fossil fuels, we dig them up, we repump them out of the ground, we process them, then we transport them, then we sell them, then we burn them up. So there is a chain, or if you prefer, a pipeline. At one end is exploration, development, and production, a wellhead. At the other end is transportation, sale, and combustion, a tailpipe. Politics that manage climate change should, one would think, consider interventions at both stages and all stages in between, but they don't. I believe the focus on tailpipe gases and the disregard for wellhead fuels has been the single most important factor in explaining why we are not acting on climate change. Fisheries are managed through fishing rights and production quotas. Illegal logging is prevented through permits and forest management. It would be unthinkable for a drug policy to ignore drug production. Yet here we are, addicted to oil, and we have a policy that ignores the production of fossil fuels. It's like a policy on drugs that ignores the poppy fields, the cocaine labs, the smuggling networks, the dealers, and focuses exclusively on the addicts. That'd be a crazy policy. While the battles over the Keystone XL pipeline and the Dakota Access Pipeline have the allure of a heroic struggle, the pipelines also give us a visible and tangible image of the transmission of carbon from production to emissions. If we want a livable future, we need to confront that black snake. If we want a livable future, we need to put a cap on fossil fuels, not different industrial emissions. We need a cap on oil and gas.